On the 21st of May 2020, an anonymous user will make the following post on 4chan. Every night I dream of The Simpsons. Every goddamn night, X. I'm not joking. This is not a funny Dead Bart meme. I went to a psychiatrist, but she didn't help me. Was more patronizing than anything. The worst thing is, they watch me too. I'm like a third-person camera that is randomly assigned to different members of the Simpsons family as they walk around and do shit, just mundane shit most of the time. I watched Bart do his homework. Every now and then they'll look at me, sometimes smile or make a remark. They know my name. Do you know how I make this stop? I don't want to go to bed tonight. Sometimes I stay up entire weekends to avoid seeing them. Sometimes I just want a break. But then I start hearing them. The first reply to that post was, of course,
Sneed.
The replies that will follow would end up divided in two different categories, with some appearing either genuinely concerned about the situation and sharing their own similar experiences, or even offering advice, while others would either blatantly mock the author or even attempt to play into his apparent paranoia.
He tells me things too, Anon.
Learn to lucid dream yourself out of them.
But that's the thing, they start to come for me. I start to hear them if I stay up for too long.
Who wants the footage?
Okay, you're going to need to in your dream travel to Professor Fink's lab and destroy the small box with the blinking green light. If it works, you will wake up immediately and never dream of The Simpsons again. There's only a small chance you will be stuck there forever.
Do you still watch The Simpsons when you're awake? Stop! Watch something else or play a video game. You need to get The Simpsons off your mind. Stop watching The Simpsons and stop thinking about
every goddamn night, X. I'm not joking. This is not a funny Squidward dead meme. I went to a psychiatrist, but she didn't help me. Was more patronizing than anything. The worst thing is, they watch me too. I'm like a third-person camera that is randomly assigned to different seasons of Bikini Bottom as that. Just mundane shit most of the time. I watch Patrick work in the Krusty Krab. Every now and then they'll look at me, sometimes smile, or make a remark. They know my name. Do you know how I make this stop? I don't want to go to bed tonight. Sometimes I stay up entire weekends to avoid seeing them. Sometimes I just want a break. But then every night I dream of the Gravitron. Every goddamn night, X. I'm not joking. This is not a funny rip. Every goddamn night, X. I'm not joking. This is not a funny. I went to Carney, but she didn't help me. It was more patronizing than anything. The worst thing is, they watch me too. I'm like a third-person camera that is randomly assigned to different members of the Rip and Me as they spin around and do shit. Just mundane shit most of the time. I watch standing guy land in someone's yacht. Every now and then they'll look at me, sometimes smile or make a remark. I guess they know my name. Do you know how I make this stop? I don't want to go to bed tonight. Sometimes I stay up entire weekends to go to the fair. Sometimes I just want a break. But then I start hearing them. I still see the same dream, but there's a huge duct tape patch over one of those dream bubbles over my head.
Watch more Family Guy.
Take your meds. 4chan isn't really the most unusual place to find posts like this one, especially if we're talking about the X board. In fact, in terms of weird or unusual posts, this one is pretty tame in terms of 4chan's own standards. So why am I talking about it? This is probably the first question that came to your mind. The original post never went anywhere. It doesn't have a satisfying conclusion, it doesn't reveal itself to be a big joke with a funny punchline at the end, and most of the replies are just stale memes or snark. So why did I make a YouTube video on it? The answer is, I don't know, honestly. I found myself in bed at a pretty late hour a few nights ago, and while scrolling Reddit, I came across a post that mentioned Noclipping into Springfield. Initially, I thought it referred to a bug in Simpsons Hit and Run, but the post did not provide any context, so with my curiosity lit for a moment, I ended up googling these exact words, which brought me to the original 4chan post. I was never a huge fan of The Simpsons myself, but I have watched it, at least partially. Funnily enough, I've ended up watching The Simpsons for what was practically the first time quite recently. A few months ago I got a subscription to Disney Plus and I wasn't really sure what to watch, so I ended up binging The Simpsons out of curiosity, as I had watched both Futurama and Disenchantment before. So giving a chance to The Simpsons, which is essentially Matt Groening's most iconic series, seemed only fair. It's not a bad series actually. I binged it up to season 5, episode 16, and stopped afterwards. Not because I stopped liking the series, just kind of lost interest in it, I suppose, for the moment. But overall, I did like it a lot. And since I didn't watch it as a kid, this praise comes from a place of genuine admiration rather than simple nostalgia. With the Simpsons series still fresh in my mind, and with my own problems sleeping at night, as I do often find myself struggling with nightmares and waking up in a cold sweat more often than I'd like to, something about this post spoke to me. I wasn't sure what exactly. It definitely wasn't because I could relate to it. In fact, I find it hard to believe that anyone could relate to this situation that Anon seems to find themselves in. And while I have never personally dreamed about The Simpsons, I can attest to the fact that I have most definitely had dreams about media I have consumed over the years. But dreams about The Simpsons specifically do not appear to be a highly uncommon occurrence within the Simpsons community. While diving into this rabbit hole, I stumbled upon a site called No Homer's Net, a site on a forum format dedicated to The Simpsons discussions, obviously, and there I found an entire thread related to weirdest dreams about The Simpsons made on the 14th of February 2016. I dreamed that Bart had to do a stage show, but he needed a haircut, so he wouldn't go out. He was really upset. Long story short, I had to help him find a pinking shears. But no kidding, the dream had a punchline. I've had a lot of dreams in which I was watching new Simpsons episodes, of course. In one of them, Marge and Homer sold Santa's little helper to a mysterious wealthy stranger, and Bart tried to find out who they sold him to. And Lindsay Naegle helped him. I can't remember anything else about it. Another one involved a new trend at Springfield Elementary in which the students went around riding tortoises, and it involved a scene in which some kid was a dentist, but then the dentist turned into Cleus shoving a peppermill down one of his kids' throat at a restaurant. The same episode also involved Homer watching a movie trailer about someone who rides a flying shack, much like Willie's, around fighting crime. Then the actor from the movie appeared at Simpson's house, driving a white van because Homer apparently owed him money. I made this thread a while ago. I once dreamed that I was on Springfield and no idea why, but Homer was chasing me. Then, being a dream, it just got weird and he was chasing me through a huge grass field at night, and that's about as much as I remember. I once had a dream where for a brief part of the dream I was on the camera view on Simpsons Hit and Run. I've had a lot of dreams about The Simpsons. Some I remember. I wrote an episode of The Simpsons and sent it to the writers, expecting it to not be accepted. But it got accepted, and it got aired a couple months later, and it got only great reviews with people giving it 10 out of 10 and rating it the best Simpsons episode in years. And then Ol Jen sent me to his office asking if I could take over as showrunner after him, and then I woke up. After reading about Dead Bart, I had a dream that I actually saw the episode. I remember the family members randomly sitting on the couch, then suddenly having their faces torn off, and then cutting away to Bart falling from the plane, and then I remember the rest of the family laughing about it, and talking about how worthless Bart was to the family, and then the episode ended with Homer saying, "Well, we finally got rid of the boy," with an evil voice that sounded nothing like Homer, and then I woke up. If you don't know what Dead Bart is, it refers to an old internet creepypasta revolving around a supposed lost media episode, where after boarding a plane, Bart will get sucked out into the sky and fall to his death. The rest of the episode will be centered around the remaining family members mourning Bart's death, with the end of the episode featuring a graveyard and the name of various guest stars from The Simpsons show appearing on different tombstones. Each tombstone would accurately feature a date of death for those guest stars, with the author cross-referencing the dates for those who had already died and confirming they were indeed accurate, and coming to the conclusion that the episode could potentially be used to accurately predict when the guest stars that were still alive will die, if it wasn't for one chilling detail, the detail being that the still living ones all had the same date on their tombstones. I suppose the twist of this creepypasta was that if such a large number of people were supposed to die all in the same day, the episode could have perhaps predicted some sort of apocalyptic event. Of course, this entire story was debunked. Duh. as a hoax, but I'm pretty sure you don't need me to tell you that. Either way, I feel that I'm getting a bit off track here, so returning to the original topic of the video, which was that one 4chan post, I want to offer my thoughts regarding that. First and foremost, the original post was a 4chan post, and you know what they say about 4chan, that you shouldn't trust anything posted on that site. Much like on Reddit, or any site on the internet for that matter, people lie. It is all possible that post was just a shitpost made by some bored guy, and Anon claiming that this isn't the case doesn't make the possibility any less real. So take this whole story with a pinch of salt. Of course, there is also the chance that Anon might have forgotten to take his meds, or that they might actually be suffering from some serious sleep disorder, causing them to have these recurrent dreams, which to me raises the following question. Anon, are you okay? If you're watching this video, then tell me, are you still dreaming about The Simpsons? Are you still having this nightly occurrence where you find yourself as an unwilling spectator in someone else's life, whose presence is acknowledged, but treated as nothing more than a fleeting outsider that has no power to affect the outcome or the events around itself, bound only to observe as other people's lives drift by? I cannot help but think about how the idea of finding oneself as a third-person camera following someone else's does sort of bring up this feeling or sensation of having a complete lack of agency. The idea of being a spectator in one's own life, or someone else's for that matter, without being able to intervene or meaningfully interact in any way is something that I find terrifying, yet calming in a way. There is a sort of mental peace that can be acquired once we accept that we cannot change the outcome of certain events. At that point, acceptance is the only solution, the only meaningful result. For the longest time, I have struggled with fears and anxieties of my own about things that I personally feel are inevitable. And while I have managed to come to terms with some of these feelings in the last few years, I still haven't had the strength to completely accept them. There is a part of me that simply doesn't want to. Perhaps this is why I initially felt the way I did regarding that post. The circumstances are wildly different, and yet the situation, or the feelings regarding the situation specifically, are maybe something that many of us have felt, or still feel to this very day, in regard to different things in our personal lives. The post, as I said previously, never had a conclusion, and we never ended up knowing if Anon had any sort of success in getting rid of those dreams. I would like to thank this channel's members for their support, as always. It is much appreciated. I realized myself that this was a weird video, probably not something you would have expected to see here, but I hope you enjoyed my ramblings nonetheless. I don't know why I wanted to talk about it, I just know that I wanted to, and now I did. As always, I wish you a good night, and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye.